Speaking of someone that's in the last years, Chris Jericho. So he's been off AWTV since April. He was written off. He went to go tour with Fozzy, and he's doing that thing now. The tour is over, and there's no plans as of now to use him. Now that goes along and coincides with reports that his contract with AEW is set to expire. The reports say November, December, somewhere at the end of the year. And other rumors are that he's already kind of making back channel overtures to WWE. Are you guys interested in reunion? And the reports are WWE is very much interested in reunion. So the first question I have is that Dave Meltzer recently revealed, or not revealed, but he suggested and speculated during a recent edition of the Wrestling Observer Radio that he thinks if AEW fans didn't quote unquote turn on Jericho and do the please retire chants, he doesn't think this possibility of him leaving AEW, which would have seemed kind of surprising two years ago, would actually happen now. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's some truth to it? Is it kind of that and some other things? Why do you feel Chris Jericho is actually considering leaving AEW when he was like the loudest and public ambassador for the brand and pushing that they're as big and good as WWE?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the fans kind of turning on him was the final straw, because I think if the fans were still on board for a lot of the things that he was throwing out there, and Jericho's an idea guy, he loves throwing different things out there and kind of reinventing himself. If they were still responding to all of that, I don't think there'd be any reason for him to leave. But having said that, with that happening, there's really no room for him on the show, because if you're going to just keep getting these negative reactions from the core audience, and Jericho at this point in his career, that's pretty much all he can bring to the table. You're not relying on him to be a top guy anymore. He did that with the initial start of AEW, and that's kind of, really served its purpose. But at this point, he would serve to bring, extra value to the show. And if it's going in the negative direction, then there really is no value there. So it's best for both parties to kind of part ways. And, I would have never thought that, a WWE return at this juncture would have been, so potentially well received. And honestly, if he were to show up at the Rumble 2026, he'd get a great ovation, and there'd be a nostalgia run that can actually hit in this landscape of WWE. So this might have been a blessing in disguise for him. I'm sure nobody likes to kind of have the fans tell them that we've had enough of you, but if this is the end result, then it'll work out great for Jericho, and AEW won't miss a beat. They'll go carry on with their plans, which obviously Jericho didn't play into anymore.
And I think Jericho has had so much success in his career because he's very much one of the guys who listens to the audience, and for better or worse. And then, with time left in his contract, even though they were telling him, please retire, he wasn't going anywhere. But he's a guy that I think he's realizing, like, that when he came in, he brought star power to the roster. He helped elevate and stuff like that. And over time, Tony Khan and the team has done a lot to expand the roster. Although there's a lot of injuries that diminish the roster, they've got a lot of talented performers at the highest level, the main event level. So he's really doesn't have a purpose there. What is there left for him to prove? What is he going to be, a trios champion, TNT champion? It seems kind of a waste for him at this point. So yeah, in a way, I think it's a part the AEW fans kind of made him say, yeah, maybe I don't fit here anymore. And they're such a diehard, loud audience, like they're going to let you know. And maybe he just feels, yeah, I don't fit. He sees what's happening with the John Cena, with the Bill Goldberg, these kinds of things and how they're being handled in those last years, even a CM Punk, and saying, yeah. And I think you nailed it perfectly. The reception for the idea. If you would have asked me a couple years ago, I'd be like, meh. Just because, yeah, Jericho's at 53 years old is not what he once was. But I think what they've done with CM Punk is a nice blueprint. And that's why I want to get into next. How do you maximize him? What kind of impact can he make at 53 years old for WWE if he does make a return? I mean, what's your thoughts on that sort of idea? Because it's a weird kind of thing, because he's still got star power. He can wrestle way better than Goldberg at a similar age, yeah. But he is what he is, Yeah.
No, I think his value is something that WWE has kind of been, really hitting on really well this year. Is like that B-tier feud that doesn't necessarily involve a title. You know what I mean? Something like Roman's kind of been doing with Bronson Reed and them cats, and it's a little bit lower down the card, but like Sheamus and Rusev. have filled a lot of time on Raw, a lot of valuable time, with a very entertaining feud that had a great blow off at Clash in Paris. So I think that's where Jericho will bring the value. It's like he's still a big name to a lot of casual fans, and him coming into the picture doesn't necessarily mean he'll be going after the world title like CM Punk is. But he's still a big name that can feud with somebody, an up-and-comer. If they bring him in as a face, he'd be a logical next feud for like Division, to go against like Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. That could be kind of fun, or even have him on SmackDown with, like a Drew McIntyre or something like that. I think that's where the value will lie. He shouldn't be, challenging for world titles, at least not right away, or anything substantial. The value will be in Jericho's back. Let's elevate some names that we're looking to elevate. Maybe like if Obafemi were to come up from NXT, or even like Trick Williams. I think Trick Williams would be a fantastic feud for Jericho. The verbal sparring between those two would be absolutely phenomenal. That's where Jericho's value will be, to kind of bring that greatness out of the next generation of stars that WWE is trying to establish.
I think what's so good, I think what they've done with CM Punk is really the perfect blueprint, especially for a guy like Jericho. Because when Vince McMahon was around, they were sort of doing this thing where people would pop up and then disappear. Brock Lesnar would maybe be around for a while and then disappear for a month or two. And Goldberg would be around, disappear. All these kinds of things. Punk is sort of like the perfect mix of part-time, full-time. He's a part-time performer in the ring, but a full-time personality on the shows. And he's a kind of guy that he has so much personality. He brings a lot, even if he's not wrestling. Jericho very much can kind of still do the same thing. He doesn't need to wrestle. He needs to probably just wrestle 3-4 times a year, honestly. If he wants to do more in the live shows on trips, fantastic. But he's a kind of great personality with so much of a fantastic resume. And he's one of those guys, even more than CM Punk. He can be badass and hilarious like R-Truth at the same time. He can be Walls of Jericho, elite bad guy heel, and then he can be the list and just epic in a totally different kind of way. And along with that, I think what he brings for them short term, and this is not for everybody, this is not for a lot of different people, but now that they are sort of creating this network of alliances with TNA, they've acquired AAA, they have relationship with Japan. He has such a great wealth of knowledge. He can be so valuable to NXT, just like CM Punk has made some trips to NXT to just help people. He can do the same thing. He can give ideas to Triple H. AAA, and Triple H has really brought in these legendary smart minds, and Shawn Michaels, an Undertaker, bringing them in to share ideas and make the creative great. And he's another one that could so help with that. And I think he gets that. I think he wasn't interested in a return 2-3 years ago because it was Vince McMahon. It was the same old, same old. He's done it. He's cool with Vince McMahon, but he's kind of wants something new. I think here he gets, man, I can have long-term value in this business I love for the next 10 years as a creative force and a wrestler. And I think that's fascinating with him.